get going. What I was thinking of talking about, I posted, let me just find what I posted. I put on Facebook something which I will just read it quickly, just to spark my memory of what I wanted to talk about. So I said, take notice of whether what you do and say is coming from love or fear. For most of us, it's fear. And can you choose love instead? Now, this is something that I've sort of known for a long time, not a long time, but let's say a few years. But it's one of those things that I forget all the time, because if I can remember it, it's so useful. So the gist of it is basically we have two places we can come from for anything, and they're exact opposites, love or fear. So love is the opposite of fear, not hate. Hate's not the opposite, or love. I guess love could be the opposite of hate too, but really it's fear. Fear is the opposite of love, and there's only those two places that we can come from with pretty much anything that we do, and certainly anything that we say. And when we come from fear, that's ego. That's the ego mind, or you could say it's, our personal thoughts, our conditioned mind, our conditioned thoughts, any of those things. If we're coming from there, it's inevitably coming from fear in one way or another. But we trick ourselves into not realizing this, or not noticing it, or not wanting to notice it. Because even when you look really, really hard at it, and you can still trick yourself to be like, no, this is love. This is definitely love. But then suddenly you can see that it was fear. And that's kind of like, that's an insight when you see that, when everything shifts, when you realize that you were coming from fear, not love. So I think more and more I see that, our goal in, we have Janet has joined. Hello. More and more I see that our goal in this game of life, if you want to call it that, is to become love, right? And I didn't make that up. I've been hearing that in certain things that I've been listening to lately. But I like that, and I feel that that's true. More and more every day is just, if we can become more love than we were yesterday, then that's a good day. And that means less fear, because again, they are the opposite. And so if we make that our goal, like, life will change dramatically, because the coming from the ego, fear, we're it's very self-involved, because that's what the ego is, the conditioned self, and it's very, so much of what we think about, and the way we live our lives is very, very self-involved. It's just thinking about ourselves, what's best for me, and we trick ourselves into thinking we're being loving to other people. So like when we want to help people, let's say, very often the help that can be helpful is actually coming from fear, not love. It's because it makes our life easier. So if our partner, like wanting to teach people the 3 principles even, or share what we know, oftentimes, believe it or not, that comes from fear, not love. Because if those people in our lives knew this stuff, it would make our life easier too, especially when it's people close to us, because then they wouldn't say those things they say that trigger us and seem to make us feel bad and all that stuff. If they knew, where their experience of life was coming from, it would be helpful. And it seems really loving. It's, we can really tell ourselves that's really, really loving to do, to teach people that. And it is in some ways. I mean, if everyone knew this stuff, of course the world would be much more loving in general. But it's that that need, that feeling that that they have to know it, in order to be, in order for them to be happy. But it's really in order for us to be happy, they should know this. And I found a big difference in myself when I came to the realization, wait a minute, nobody does need to know this. It's great if they want to know it, and they do know it and eventually learn it. Like, of course, that that is awesome. I mean, there's nothing better than people learning this stuff. But the people in my life don't need to know it. Me knowing it for myself is the key. It's the key to everything. Me seeing how life works means when I see it for myself first, then I'm able to look at other people and see what that they, have more compassion, see that they're just acting out of their own insecurities, and that's why they're saying things that they're saying that I might not like, or that seem to trigger me, or whatever, that they're just feeling their thought in the moment. Their thought in the moment is creating their experience of life and what's going on with them. And when I know that, because I've seen it for myself, when I've seen it deeply for myself through insights and through experience and through just continually looking in that direction, then I see it for other people as well, more and more. And then I don't react the same way I did. I don't react out of fear when they're acting up, let's say, or acting in ways that I might not like. I can come more from love and compassion then, bypassing my typical ego thoughts, and not always, and most of the time not right away. My instant reaction is usually still conditioned thought, fear. That's what happens. That's what we do. We're still conditioned to it. But more and more, the more I notice it at some point or later, then the next time and the next time and the next time, I can see that person as someone who's just feeling their thought in the moment, and that's creating their experience, which is really, really looking real to them. And of course, if that's what I was, my reality in the moment, what their reality is, I would be doing the same thing that they're doing. I would be acting the same way, because if any of us had the same thoughts that somebody else had, we'd be doing what they were doing, because that's how it works. And knowing that deeply from our own work in a way, of ourselves, is so much the key to just being able to, just get along better with everyone, and come more and more from love, not fear. And it's really, really takes honesty, as I think I touched on at the beginning. It takes an honesty to be able to look at, is it really, am I really coming from love? It really feels like we're coming from love when we want to help. And it can come from love when we want to help, but it also can come from fear, and it can come from us wanting us to feel better. It's amazing how that's the ego's goal, is itself, to keep itself alive at all costs. And so that's why we're always so self-centered. It's that's its job. And that's the more we let that aspect of us run the show, the more self-centered we'll be, the more we become anxious, the more we become angry, the more we can't deal with other people, because we're letting because our that ego part of our mind that isn't coming from love, that's just fearful and just trying to exist, stay alive. That's its job, just to stay alive. It's the evolutionary part of us that's been, it's been evolved to act the way it does. All the things we do, all the seemingly crazy stuff we do, is evolutionary. It's to survive. in the wild or in the world. It's and in this world that we're in, this modern world, it's not quite, we don't need that kind of help so much anymore. The surviving evolutionary um, kind of help that the egos thinks it's providing us. It's just fear, because if we were living in tribes and having to fend for our food and stuff, we'd have to be constantly on alert. We'd have to be to stay alive, and that's where I think the whole ego evolved from, to stay alive, to keep us alive. It's there to protect us. But in this modern world, we would do much better most of the time to come from love instead, and not always assume we're being attacked, because that's what we do, right? When somebody just says, they could say two words to us that set us off because we think we're being attacked. And it's no different than if we saw a lion in the woods and thought we were being attacked. We instantly go into flight or fight mode, or fight or flight. I forget which order you're supposed to say it. And we instantly go into that mode because it's to save us. But we do it when someone just says something to us, and it's makes no sense in this world. And so really looking at, anytime we say anything to anyone or do something or whatever, just look at it. Where is it really coming from? And can I come from love more today than I did yesterday? That's what I actually